Please note, for maximum picture quality, it may be necessary to adjust the tracking control on your VCR.
I'm having a good time. Not.
I can't do it. We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. Fuck it.
Ah!
Hi.
What is going on, my fellow movie nerds and geeks alike? I've got Vicky with me here today, and because our entire YouTube feed is just a scramble of Alien Romulus reviews and talk right now, we figured the best way to kind of have ours be a little bit different is if we talked about it live. So here we are.
But we also wanted to give everyone a couple days to actually see it.
Yeah, we're real good at spoiling things when it comes to movies. Yeah. But it's hard to talk about movies without talking about like the meat of the movie, you know? And most of the time that is like the parts that are like, oh, if you find it out, it kind of ruins the movie. Yeah. So anyway, you've had a few days now to watch Alien Romulus if you really... Oh, hey, what's up? My mom's in the chat.
Hi, Mom.
Everyone say hello to my mom. What's up, Mom? So yeah, we're going to essentially like go through the entire movie, and as we're getting to certain parts within the movie, we'll kind of discuss and what we liked, what we disliked about the, you know, the meat of the whole thing. But overall, it was good. I certainly liked it. It definitely brought it back to like a more horror roots than like kind of just like comedy that like a lot of the other ones have been getting into. But I didn't love it. There's a lot of problems. I think it relied a little too heavily on callbacks to the other movies, things of that nature. So much so that it's just kind of like there's certain things that characters say in this movie where I was just like, dude.
It was heavily fan service, which fair enough.
Yeah, it's definitely like, I think we were watching like the Red Letter Media. They always do their half in the bag reviews. And this morning they brought up a really good point where this you could almost say this one's almost feels like a fan film. Cause it's like, well, let's nitpick things from each movie that was successful and we'll just throw it all together into a pot and see if it works. But luckily it did. So we may get down to the nitty gritty where we're like, it seems like we hated this movie. Do not take it that way. We just really love this movie. Like as far as like stuff in our apartment, we have primarily Alien and Jason Voorhees stuff. Like we have lots of other stuff too, but Alien is a dominant force. We love this series and franchise with all our heart. So we're going to nitpick it. Okay. Oh, what's up, Brad?
Hi, Brad.
Yeah, you might have to put us on mute for a little while. So yeah, there's a good warning for anyone that might catch this at a later date or anyone who comes in a little later. There will be spoilers in this 100%. So, you know, if you don't want it ruined, now's your chance to turn out and check us out later on the replay.
After you've seen it.
Yes. All right, so before we get into it, this is directed by Fede Alvarez, who you may know is the director of Don't Breathe, the Evil Dead remake. He was also like an executive producer on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake that Netflix did a couple years ago. So what were your thoughts on that, having Fede Alvarez do it?
I was really excited, and as anyone who's come back since seeing previous videos, I don't get hyped about new movies. I purposely avoid trailers and all of that. But like Bill was saying, we love this series. We love the franchise as a whole. It was impossible to avoid. I dove in headfirst. I had really high hopes because Fede Alvarez, but I also kept it in my mind. There's always the chance.
You're really good at having like
zero expectation,
a lowered sense of expectation for movies. Whereas like I see that there's a new Alien movie.
You watch every trailer and every variation and series.
I grew up watching all this stuff, so I see like, oh, you know what? It's probably going to be bad, but I'm still excited about it.
I see with movie series, I get that, but when it's a newer movie that like it's a fresh idea.
But Fede Alvarez, did you think he was a good choice?
Yeah, 100%.
Me too.
But
I think all his movies up until this point have been like very horrific and very horror centric and violent, which I think Alien kind of needed an injection of that because they've been kind of watered down, at least like with the latest like Ridley Scott ones.
Ouch.
No, I loved the movies, but it's not as brutal as past ones have been.
If I had any trepidations about Romulus with Fede Alvarez, is that I have liked his past works. So I was like,
Almost
there
too
is
much.
always the chance he can let me down, and it can be right now.
Well, every director has their slip-ups.
Yeah, and
but
I've been waiting for David Fincher to do that to me, and I love Alien 3. I know that's a very hot take, but guilty as charged.
Oh, what's up? And now we got Vicky's mom on the chat.
Hi,
What's
Mom.
going on? All right. So, yeah, I mean, I think Fede Alvarez was a great choice.
Yeah.
One thing I will say with Romulus, Ridley Scott, who of course directed the original great Alien, is the producer on this movie. And once you see it or have seen it, you can feel his touches and fingerprints all over this movie.
Yeah.
And we'll get there when we get there, but it's clear to see that he probably had a little bit of a heavy-handed voice in Fede Alvarez's direction, but we'll get there. So before I just keep rambling on, let's get into the movie itself. So the film opens up. We get the exact same start as we do in the original Alien. We get the interior of a spaceship. We get all the analog, cool, retro, like tech turning on with lights flickering on. And then you see a helmet, just like the original film. And the computer mother is flashing on the screen. So you're just like right away, like, oh, cool. Like they kept the nostalgic look of the first Alien. It doesn't look too futuristic. It fits right in line where it's supposed to, taking place between Alien and Aliens. And what we get to see is a crew from Weyland-Yutani, who is the evil corporation in all the Alien movies, is going through the wreckage of what I can only assume is the Nostromo or like the escape pod stuff that Ripley shot out into space with the alien at the end of the original Alien. And what they find is
The alien.
a frozen hunk of alien in this wreckage. How the hell they found it in the middle of nowhere space, I could never tell you. But funny thing is, now I got a couple pictures going, just so it'll exemplify it. But here we go. Let me add this. So NECA has already started production on a toy of the alien that they find frozen in space at the beginning of this movie. And here it is. That's what they find in space. So I guess we're led to believe that during the events of Alien, because they were importing all the information into the mother computer, the corporation knew where they were, so they went to go get it. So it opens up, they get the alien, it defrosts, they're doing experiments and stuff on all the alien, and boom, cut. We don't know what happens immediately after. Then we get put into this mining community where we meet Rain, who is our lead character, our Ripley, if you will, of this film. She is a young, I'd say maybe 20 years old. Like the cast is very young in this movie. She is working in the mines. Her family has all died of like various cancers from working in these deadly conditions that the Weyland-Yutani Corporation has forced everyone to do these days when they're terraforming new planets. So people are getting sick and dying at a rapid rate. And with her is her friendly synthetic. And if you know Alien movies, you know the synthetics always play a big, huge role in these films.
And I am sympathetic for the synthetic
and
every time.
What is his name again?
Andy.
Andy. Her synthetic pal is Andy, who is almost like
he's her brother, essentially.
Her brother, because
Yeah.
he was programmed by her father before her father passed away to take care of Rain because she doesn't have any family left anymore. So she goes and she's trying to get vacation time to go visit another planet because the sun never shines on this planet where they're working. And like every evil corporation, her request is denied and she is forced to work for another 6 years. And we also learn that Andy is a little slow-witted. He is an older model synthetic. He's getting bullied by all the people of this colony.
Trying to essentially build up his personality to fit in more in line with the humans.
Yes.
So he's like testing out like
Dad
knock
jokes.
jokes. Yeah, dad
Yes,
jokes.
the dad programmed a lot of dad jokes to tell Rain to kind of brighten her day, which has a good comical moment that really works.
The first couple had me really thrown.
Yeah,
and then I was like, I get it now. And then sure enough, he's the synthetic. And I went, yeah, that's right.
And it's during this time where, like, God, it's really driven home that the Weyland-Yutani Corporation is like this evil thing. Not that we didn't already know that. And this brings me to my first problem with the movie. They rely so heavily on putting the Weyland-Yutani Corporation in a dark light. Like,
Which
they
it
are
already
evil,
was.
they are bad. It's like, we know that already.
It felt like a heavy-handed metaphor for the world today, where all
Yeah.
these mass corporations own the land you live on, essentially, and run your lives. And all of that. But honestly, the setting on whatever planet
it was
they're
like
on,
Jackson Hole.
it felt like
it was
Tokyo.
like Jackson Mining Co. or
It felt
something
like
that.
Tokyo, or like something out of Blade Runner, ironically
Yes,
enough.
it was very dystopian. It was cool looking.
I even said when we walked out of there, I was like, I felt like this was a dark take on Ready Player One.
Yes, very much so. Did you notice when he's telling her the dad jokes after they get out of being denied their vacation time, the little bird bobber feeder?
Yeah,
just like from the original film. Yeah, I was like, holy shit! All right, another nod to the original film, of course.
We joked about it in the moment that it happened.
Yeah,
like I think we nudged.
Yeah, I was like, hell, look at the bird feeder thing.
Because Bill took the day off to go see it with me.
I had to see it before the spoilers, so
some of you will know how I feel about crowds, and especially crowded movie theaters. And he took off to go with me to see it at 3 p.m. the day before it was officially released. So that was tight. But we watched Alien and Aliens before we went to see it.
Yeah.
Just as a quick refresh.
So after she gets like denied the vacation time and her and Andy are just sitting, her friend comes to meet up with them. And he's like, hey, like, can you come back to their ship? Like, we want to talk to you about something, blah, blah, blah. So they go to the ship, and that's where we meet the rest of the ragtag crew of like young adults, like early 20s, maybe even late teens crew, her friends, if you will.
It felt like that off episode of Stranger Things when 11 is.
Yeah, right? They all, yeah. And they're all like different, like they all speak like different, not languages, but like they have like, there's like an English guy. There's like people who speak perfectly clear.
Well, it's all humans that were taken to live on this other planet.
True.
So you have to keep that in mind.
So, because they also don't get any time off, they want to escape this sunless planet. They're all like getting sick and dying. They have a plan. They found on radar the ship that discovered the alien that we saw in the beginning of the film. They don't know that that's what it found. They just thought it was like an abandoned, derelict spaceship in their orbit. So their plan is, let's go up there and rob the cryotubes from this ship so we can get the fuck out of Dodge and escape this hellhole forever, escape the corporation, and just go live on a beautiful, like, paradise compared to what they're used to. Rain has her trepidations, of course, as most lead characters do, but she gets convinced otherwise. Like, please, we need Andy, the synthetic, to get us onto the ship because he'll know how to decode everything and all,
because he was originally owned and therefore created
by the company,
by Weyland-Yutani.
Yeah.
So he will have the passes available to him to get
essentially his like fingerprint or whatever. Well, I guess.
Plot twist.
Yeah. So
he doesn't.
Well, kind of. So
we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. So this again, they convince her and they start their ascent towards the Romulus and Remus, aka the Renaissance ship. And if you're familiar, Romulus and Remus, it's a tale of like brothers and stuff like this, and doesn't end well for one of them, which kind of ties into the moral of this story with Rain and Andy. It's like kind of like, oh, like, do we take care of each other, or is, you know, what have you? But they go up into space, and this becomes another problem for me, is like the company is so evil and wants them to work themselves to death generation after generation, but they're okay with them flying up into outer space. How did they not know about this derelict space station?
I feel like this is where it gets confusing as an American, knowing that the air is such a controlled scenario here.
I don't know what you mean.
we're used to you not being, you can't just like take off even if you own your own private jet. You can't
Right.
just take
That's
off.
that's what I mean.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
It's a controlled space, and the point is
Well, anyway, they
terrorism and
went up
such.
there though.
Yeah, but that just might not be something that Weyland-Yutani had under wraps.
Okay.
But again, it's a movie.
That's true. It's a movie.
Friendly
you
reminder.
always got to keep that in mind. Is like, were you entertained? Did you have fun?
Great.
Which we had a great time with this movie. We're going to sound like, oh, why the fuck did they do this? But it was still great. So anyway, they go up to the space station. They dock on board, and then three of the members of the crew head out onto the ship. It is kind of a mess. It's in shambles. It's kind of deserted. It is a derelict space station after all. And they come to the cryopods and realize there's not enough fuel for them to take I think it was like 9-year trip to get to the planet they wanted to jettison off to. So thus entails them walking further through the ship to get the fuel for the cryopods or whatever. Now, as they're walking through the derelict space station, this is where you start seeing all the destruction and stuff and like, oh shit, something bad happened here. Your classic, like when the Marines first show up in Aliens and like the colony on 426 is just in shambles and there's just acid blood burning through places and they don't know what the hell it is, where it came from. Same here. They find a droid face down that was burned through the floor and half his body's missing. And they're like, all right, let's keep going. So they go into the genetics lab and they find the fuel. But what they don't know is that on the wall next to them are frozen, genetically modified facehuggers that the corporation has been making with the shit that they found from the Nostromo. And because they're in there, they're changing the temperature of the air, the atmosphere is changing. So these fucking facehuggers are hatching out of the wall and they don't see it happening because they're quiet. And because the temperature is changing, the door auto locks. And because Andy is not a member of this space station, he can't unlock the door like he's been doing. So the rest of the crew on their ship have to come in and try and get them out. So what they do is they tap on the neck of the melted up android that's there, and they take out his SIM card from his neck.
I was giggling.
It was really funny because you've never seen this in the Alien movie. It's
that
like
was a nice modern take on it to help the newer generation, us millennials, better understand this transfer.
Exactly, yeah. And I thought it was like a cool, nice additive to the lore of the androids. It's like, oh, if they need like
it's updated.
Yeah, here's a nice way to update them. So they grab the little chip out of the downed android, bring it, slide it into Andy, and he freezes. And his eyes roll back in his head. And
he essentially does a hard reboot.
Yeah, he's just like shaking like this, and the Weyland-Yutani logo's in his eyes. It's a very cool and frightening sequence. And they're like, hurry up, boot up, man. Like, we got to get out of here. And they start noticing, like, the stuff you saw in the trailers where it's like, there's something in the fucking water. There's something in the fucking water. Well, it's the fucking facehuggers. They're swimming around, attacking everyone that's in this room. And eventually, like, Andy boots up, unlocks the door. They run out, try to shut the door. But the facehuggers, there's like 20 of them, shatter through the door, which is like the facehuggers in this. I can only guess that the reason they're able to break through the door is because they're genetically created. You know, they're modified. They're not your typical born from the egg facehuggers. So they're strong. They smash through the fucking door. They're chasing them down the hallways. And eventually, after they shut the door, one of them latches onto one of the crew's face. It's like this. I think I have a picture of her here. Hold on. I keep forgetting I have these slides. Oh, thanks, Mama. We're going to the pool. All right. So anyway, before I forget, just to give you guys a little bit more context here. So this is Rain right here. She is holding the pulse rifle there. And here is her synthetic Andy. Okay. See what else I have here. I always forget that I can do this with this. So please forgive me.
And also, this is my first time seeing all the images he saved to share with you because I didn't know he did this. So there we go.
So here is a shot from the trailer where the facehuggers break through this door here, which was a pretty frightening experience, especially like with a huge theater. Like, even though we saw it like 3:00 on a Thursday, the opening day, it was packed.
Yeah.
And like people were like jolting in the theater. It was great. It was wonderful. I was so happy to see people actually wanting to see a movie this time. So anyway, they break through the door, they chase them down, and they latch on to, I think I have a picture of her, so let me see.
My mom.
There we go. Us too, Mama.
I have one on my side of the couch.
All right, so I think I grabbed a picture. Let me share it here. Facehuggers. There it is. Okay, so this character, who is one of the friends, this is the girl here who gets a facehugger latched on her face. So clearly you can tell in this image that, like, it has already happened, and you know what happens after the facehugger is latched on to a human's face.
Can't usually get it off.
Yeah. But what they do also, after she has the facehugger latched on and they're in the control room again where the dead synthetic was. So what they do is they boot up the synthetic. And also Andy, because he has the new chip in his like neck here, he has a new, strong, smart personality. So he has taken on
the confidence of a seasoned synthetic.
Yes, he has like the mother computer from the ship in his head. So he is aware of everything, and he is no longer like slow or dim-witted at all. And here is the big reveal, probably the biggest spoiler of this entire movie. Once they reboot this dead synthetic that's split in half, this is who it is. It is Ian Holm, who you'll remember from the original Alien. He was the synthetic named Ash.
Yeah.
Now, in this one, his name is Rook. He is not the same synthetic. It is just essentially their way of doing the same thing they did with like David and Walter in Prometheus and Alien Covenant, and what they did with Bishop in like the sequels to Alien, where it's like there are multiple of the same looking unit. They're not the same one, but they share like the same.
It's a familiarity thing.
Yes.
It's a tactic to make you more likely to trust this new synthetic.
So, what I've heard, I think I read one article after we saw it. Because I just wanted some explanation here. I was like, how can Ash be alive? It's not Ash. It is Rook. They tell you his name is Rook. And the reason it is like kind of the same evil personality as Ash is because he has the mother computer in his head. He knows everything that the Weyland-Yutani Corporation wants to do with the Xenomorphs and all this technology. They're using it to create weaponry.
Yeah.
So he now has control of Andy. And they tell Andy, like, well, you can't get that facehugger off that girl. So what they do is they find a new way to try to remove the facehugger, and they figure it out, actually, a new way. They use this like freezer gun type thing, and they freeze the like this, like the bottom of the tail of it, and it scares it off. But as we all know that we've seen in past Alien films, it doesn't matter like how long those things are attached. That their implants are in there.
Yeah, whatever it was doing to you, it's already done.
Yeah. So that girl and her English bloke of a sort of boyfriend, I guess.
Her friend,
I think they're all just friends. Yeah. They run off and they go back to their spaceship because they are freaked out. Andy is freaking them out because he is now evil. Let me see. Like synthetic cloning. Kind of. I think it's just kind of like they mass produce so many that they all look alike. Like the Terminator.
Using the same chemistry for the facial features that they would need. They just reproduce it multiple times to make it easier. Yeah. Shortcuts, as corporations love to do.
I kind of took it as almost like a like, you know how Arnold Schwarzenegger, his likeness is always the Terminator. I would think it's like kind of the same thing they're doing here with this universe that they've created. So they run off because Andy is scaring them. He's like, you've got to terminate this girl. She has one inside her. And they run away because Andy is now smart and evil, blah, blah, blah. So they run away. But this is where Rook, the old Ian Holm likeness synthetic, which they did get permission from his estate, by the way. His wife cried when she saw it, apparently. But they got full permission to do it. And this is a big problem for me is he is so CGI.
He is pure CGI, but I mean, granted, the man is no longer with us.
Yeah, he died 4 years ago.
And even if he was still alive, to look the way he did
Yeah.
44 years ago.
Yeah.
Not bloody likely.
So like if you've ever seen a deep fake video where like they put a celebrity's face on like someone else's, that's what this looks like.
But
it's bad.
glitchier.
Yeah.
But it worked. Again, it works for
It's just fan service.
Yes. I noticed it was Ash right from the second they showed him in the background. I was like, that's Ash. Again, we just watched the first Alien and Aliens again that morning. So I was like,
I had a problem with the fact that they used CGI so heavily on him. Granted, you had to because they
didn't have a
dead.
choice, but they could have done it a bit smoother.
Yeah.
But who are
for a movie that's touting so many practical effect usage?
They did use a lot.
There
of
is a lot,
effects.
but like this was like, oof, this was rough looking. But this is a cool moment. Is he explains what they were doing with the alien that they found frozen in space, and about how they were doing like genetic modifications to make weaponry for like all this kinds of stuff. And then what we didn't see when they first walked in that room is he points up and there it is. Big chap, the original alien from the original Alien is dead, shot dead, hanging from the ceiling. Like they eventually were able to stop it and kill it. And it was Big Chap's blood that ripped a hole through the entire ship, which was really cool. Granted, it sucks that like we had to see him all dead there, but
it was really
very
cool because his skull was showing through the face.
Yeah,
which was
like
the only sign you really had that he was dead.
Yeah, you had like the very HR Giger looking Big Chap Xenomorph hanging there, which was really cool. Granted, it is hella fan service, but I really liked that. So after the two friends run back to the ship, Rook, aka Ash, convinces these people like, well, hey, you have to go get some stuff from the ship before you guys leave. You know, you could go get your fuel for your cryostasis chambers or whatever it is. And then while they start doing this, we go back to the ship where the face-hugged girl and English boy ran to. And who else is there is a girl that was with the crew who is pregnant. She just found out she's pregnant. We don't know by who, blah, 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 but she is. And then we get to look at the new technology where there is this wand, which I'm sure if you watched the trailer, you'd see it. It is, it's almost like an X-ray or like a metal detector that they put over their body to look inside someone. And like the trailer,
to see if you're carrying an alien.
Yeah, so she puts it over her, and there it is, just pumping through her chest. And the pregnant girl's holding her, like, oh my god, oh my god.
The irony.
Yeah. And then we cut away from that again to go see where our ragtag crew of people are going. The others, as Rook is leading Andy to take them through the rest of the Romulus Remus Renaissance ship or whatever. So they get to a room where all the facehuggers are. Like they broke down through the ceiling and there's a door blocking them and they look in. They're like, shit, we can't get in. There's a shit ton of facehuggers. Like we can't get around them. And here's another problem I have. They say that the facehuggers now hunt by heat signatures and
like
sound.
The Predator.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it's cool because we never know how they hunt. I always was just under the assumption it's like if you're living, they want to latch on you. They don't, that's it. But they turn the temperature up in the room and they're like, all right, everyone be quiet and we'll tiptoe around these fucking 40 facehuggers that are all cool, practical effect, little spider facehuggers walking around this room on all these boxes. It's sick and scary and tense as fuck. You're just like, don't fucking breathe. Yeah. Don't even move.
Don't breathe.
Yeah. And oh man, this is like the most effective part of this whole movie for me is them trying to tiptoe past them. And then we cut back while they're there. The girls, boom, her chest bursts on their ship that they took to get there. Blood all over the girl with that's pregnant, and the little alien thing runs away. And we cut back again to them. All of a sudden, there's like an alarm bell going off. They learn that the ship has like 45 minutes or whatever before it self-destructs, or it doesn't self-destruct. It is going to run into the rings of the nearby planet and be destroyed. So, like in every alien movie, self-destruct sequence initiated. So, like now there's an element of like hurry up time, just like all the rest of the movies. So they're running. This is where there's that famous scene in the trailer where you see Andy and he's turning around in the red light and he just goes, run. And they just have to run away from these facehuggers. It's intense. They finally get away, and they get into this room where we are introduced to a computer image. And also, by the way, this room is filled with like a lot of like retro nostalgic, the mother computer room vibes of the original Alien. It is so wonderfully retro and nostalgic awesomeness. And we get the computer image of Ash, Rook, explaining to them what they were doing in here. And here's where we get the connection to all the other Alien movies. So he talks about Prometheus here. He brings up the little vials that they find in Prometheus with the black goo. So boom, there's Ridley Scott's stamp. He's like, listen, Fede, you're going to make this movie. You're going to finish up what I started here. So what the Weyland-Yutani Corp was doing with the Xenomorph and all the black goo that they found from Prometheus is they are turning them into these like almost like vials, like essentially like shots for human beings to become like superhuman, because all their workers are getting sick and getting cancer from working in these mines. So they want to make an ultimate human that can work until the day they die without getting sick, kind of thing. So evil corporations strike
shout out
again.
reality.
But what did you think about the reveal that the Prometheus shit was going to actually get talked about?
What did I
couldn't
think about
believe
it?
it.
Bill had to remind me of it, because out of all of the Alien movies, Prometheus is the one I've seen the least, other than Romulus, of course, since I've now only seen it once.
Yeah.
We did, however, just watch Prometheus and Covenant yesterday. I love how I just had to ask you that. My brain is so muddied from just watching those two back to back and just seeing Romulus 2 days ago.
Yeah.
That I'm now confusing so much. Because there are certain things that are kind of repetitive storyline-wise between the three.
It's literally just recycled plot.
Honestly, if you call Romulus
Prometheus 3.
Part 3 of Prometheus, Covenant, and now Romulus, like, I would believe you. I can't wait to own it, to be able to watch it again and be able to separate
Did this movie kind of made me appreciate Prometheus and Covenant a little bit more, honestly?
I definitely liked Prometheus the most that I've liked it.
Yeah.
Since the last time I watched it, which I can't even remember. Again, it's the one I've seen the least out of them. It just didn't pique my interest. I didn't find it boring per se, but there wasn't enough meat to it that I would go back. If I had to choose between the newer movies, I always went back to Covenant.
Yeah, because it's more alien heavy.
And I also I love David, so I get two. Great.
But I mean, as a fan of, like, I've never been a person who disliked Prometheus or Covenant. I'm definitely one of those rare people who likes even the schlock of this series. So like, I love Prometheus. So seeing that pop up on the screen and it finally getting some finality, you know, like finally, like, this is what happened. This is where Ridley Scott's storyline went. So to continue on with the movie, Rook tells them, like, you have to grab the vials. You have to. This is our life's work. You got to help out the corporation, blah, blah, blah. And they don't know that, like, Rook, like, they don't know who Ash is from the original Alien. You know what I mean? They don't know that he had ill intentions of, you know, priority number one is protect the organism at all costs. Crew is expendable.
Yeah.
So they're run back. They got the vials and stuff. And then we get taken back to see what is going on with the little alien that bursts through the chest. So the little English boy that is wearing the bandana, they're running in the fucking water.
I was with him. I knew that if I was in his spot, I'd be reacting the same way.
So he's like, well, where is this little thing? And this is a new thing that we get with this movie, a new level of the evolution, if you will, or genesis of the maturity of the alien xenomorph species. We see this like almost vagina looking thing strapped to the wall. And you're just like, okay, well, that's like a cocoon for sure. Like, as a person who has watched enough sci-fi movies.
But also Giger's art typically leaning more phallic.
Yeah, way sexual in his art. I wonder if he had anything to do with that design. I maybe it's probably something they got from one of his books or something.
Maybe, probably with
I'm not
any
sure.
sort of consent from his estate.
I'm sure you have to, I think, when you're making an alien movie, you know, because he's getting a credit no matter what.
And it's been 10 years since his passing.
Yes. So you see this thing on the wall, and you're like, okay, this is where the Xenomorph goes before it is the full-grown adult Xenomorph that we know and love. What we got here? Kermode was complaining about the CGI on someone's mouth. Yes. The Rook synthetic that they call back to Ian Holmes' Ash is very rough. But this thing on the wall, all of a sudden it starts wiggling and stuff. So the English guy takes this like cattle prod thing, which is like very similar to, a cattle prod. So he takes the electric cattle prod and shoves it in the vagina of this thing on the wall.
It was a giant minge.
Yeah. And you hear the little Xenomorph inside like squealing, like, rah, rah. So it's like all this goo just starts pouring out of it. So you're like, oh, he thinks he killed it. And then all of a sudden you see this little spike come poking out of the hole that he just did with the cattle prod. And boom, the fucking tail of the Xenomorph comes through and splits this fucking kid. And we get the slow motion reveal of the Xenomorph just like pulling out of this like vaginal crevasse, like with its hands flipping up and everything. Like, oh, iconic. Like all practical effects. It was awesome. And the girl in the back is screaming. And meanwhile, this kid who just got hit with the tail is still alive underneath this wall thing. And all the blood from the Xenomorph, is acid, starts pouring out of the fucking thing on the wall, burning his arms off, burning his fingers off. And all of a sudden, you just see a huge puddle of it come falling out of this shit all over his face. And he gets melted to fucking bits. It is awesome. Like, when you say you're bringing the practical effects and the gore, this was one scene in particular where I was like, yes, it looks so good. The Xenomorphs look so cool.
Like, I just need someone on the internet to edit it so that the goo landing on him is the Nickelodeon slime.
I mean, it kind of is, It's like greenish brown.
Like put in that scene into an episode of Figure It Out.
Like Family Double Dare?
No, Figure It Out on Nickelodeon.
You've all seen what the Xenomorph looks like, but it is beautiful. It's modeled way more off the original film, like H.R. Giger's original design of Big Chap. Like, it is so good. It looks great. And now the Xenomorph has finally made its appearance in this film. And the girl that witnessed all this happening starts running away. The door is locked. And she runs into our other heroes, and Rain, her friend, and Andy. They're behind the door. And she's like, please let me out. Please let me out. And you see the Xenomorph like creeping out at her, watching her do this. And Andy, since he is now controlled by Rook or Ash,
and has the way to pass,
he's the only one who can.
Fingerprint.
He's the only one who can open the doors.
Grant access to it, and he says no.
No. So like he now has the mother computer of Ash and Rook in his head. He's now essentially evil. Yeah. And he's like, no, I'm not opening the door. Which is, for our heroes of Rain and her friend, good, because you see the Xenomorph and he is just watching the girl at the door.
Couldn't see it.
He's using her as almost like bait. Like, yes, like open that door so I can get all of you. And then they don't open the door. She gets ripped away by the Xenomorph. And then we start to see like scenes with the Xenomorph like grabbing all the dead bodies and pulling them in. And if you've seen an Alien movie, you know where those things are going. They are going to get splattered up on the wall and implanted with more Xenomorphs. So what did you think of the birth of the Xenomorph and all this?
I loved it. I was here for it. The second that the
thing is on the
tail
wall
end poked out of it, I was like, oh, it's on.
Yeah, I mean, if it's one thing, I'm glad the trailer didn't ruin it and like that much. But if you paid close attention to the trailer, you see this thing that's on the wall in the trailer, clear as day. You see the tail coming out, and
it's clearly a form of minge.
and like, if it's one thing with trailers, it's like, well, like the English kid's gonna die because in the trailer you see him, getting this thing swung at him.
I don't dive head first into trailers here like Bill does. So I already, like, my brain was wiped of all of that. I was just psyched to be sitting in on a new Alien movie.
Yes. So from here, our heroes are now running out of time. Don't mind me while I open another seltzer. They're running out of time, and they can't get to the spaceship because the Xenomorph's in there. So they're like, all right, we got to find another way. So Rook and now Andy, who's controlled by Rook, are taking them through this other labyrinth of this spaceship. And that's when we finally get to see the classic alien looking, like, you know, in Aliens, when they go down to the sublevel and there's all that like gross shit all over the walls. Like, you know what I'm talking about. They get there and it's all enconced. What's that word? Ensconced. You say it. It's
Ensconced.
all over the walls. And
happy to help.
And they're like, we got to get to this elevator to get the hell out of here. So they keep going on. And that's when they start to see like the people like put up on the walls. They're like, oh my God, we got to help all these people. And they're like, Andy, of course, is aware of what's going on with them. But this is where we encounter not just the one Xenomorph. There are more. So they are all running around this little labyrinth here. And they rescue their pregnant friend from the wall. And they're running around. Xenomorph gets loose and grabs the one friend who is, I guess, kind of like Rain's love interest, you'd say. Her best friend. They're not really clear on whether or not they're love interest,
I think
but
we'll
they're best
pick up
friends.
on the relationships more on a rewatch when we can finally get it physically.
So they're at the elevator now, and this boyfriend, best friend, we'll just call him friend, gets hooked by the alien tail, and we get that awesome like Xenomorph bringing slowly up like a human body up to its face. And he's looking around and he's like trying to act like a badass, like, fuck you. Is that as hard as, this is another reference to another Alien film. He goes, is that as hard as you can, whatever, just like Charles S. Dutton in Alien 3. He's like, is that as hard as you could bite, motherfucker? Which I appreciate because I love Alien 3. But you see all the other Xenomorphs up in the ceiling with this one. And this is where we get our classic alien kill. The little fucking thing comes shooting out of its mouth and blasts through his fucking brains. And awesome. Very awesome.
Yeah, great scene.
And during all this melee, Andy, the synthetic, is sliced and he is frozen and like almost like, I hate using this terminology giving our life, but like is seizing on the ground. Like he is, for lack of a better word, he's like frozen. And so Rain takes the pregnant girl and they get in the elevator and they start going up. And Rain has a crisis like of conscience at this moment. She's like, listen, Andy's kind of been doing us wrong lately, but he is my best friend. He's the only thing I have tied back to my father and my family. I have to go back and rescue him. So she tells the pregnant girl, like, get up there, start the ship, take this medicine and take the black goo shots up there to the ship. And Rain climbs back down the ladder. Pardon me. Uzi, what is up, my friend?
Yeah, Uzi, get your butt to the movies.
Yeah, appreciate you popping in here, though. So she's climbing back down the ladder, and we get Andy, and she gives him, like, an ultimatum. Like, listen, I am going to take the chip, the SIM card, out of your neck, but, like, I need you back. I don't want no bullshit kind of thing. So she takes out the Rook Ash SIM card out of his neck and puts in like his regular one. So he's back to his normal, like almost like slower, just like kind of old model synthetic. So they get together and this is my favorite. I think this is my favorite part of the entire movie. The Xenomorphs start swarming them. There's nothing they can do. We are introduced to this like gravity situation on the ship at the start of the film where you can like turn it on and turn it off.
Which was when that was revealed.
I was like, that we're going to use that.
I sat up in my seat.
Yeah.
I was like, yes,
but
this is going to get good.
Yeah. The kicker with the anti-gravity or gravity field thing is it like turns on and off, like almost like without warning. So she has this pulse rifle now that she grabbed in the room with the black goo, and her and Andy are like They don't know what to do. They think they're going to get killed by xenomorphs. She turns the gravity shit off. And all of a sudden, all the xenomorphs start lifting off the fucking... It's Puerto Rican Day. There's a Puerto Rican Day parade in our city, so forgive the sound. They're rising up off the fucking stairs and grates all around them, and she is blasting them all with the pulse rifle while she, too, is also floating in nothingness. And the aliens are all exploding, and all their acid blood is just floating, hovering in the air, which is so awesome. And, like, how inventive, what a beautiful way to, like, not only bring back the alien acidic blood, but also, like, a cool, inventive way for it to, like, a new shit. How are you going to escape this now? So,
but also introducing liquid into a non-gravity situation.
Yeah.
It's something that's not dealt with often.
Often at all.
If ever.
So,
correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure there's plenty of movies I haven't seen where that's a dealt with method, but being that xenomorph blood is known to be acidic, that now being
just floating in the air. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was awesome. So, she shoots and destroys all the xenomorphs that were currently in their path, and now they're floating, trying to get back to the elevator, like essentially playing the game of Operation with their bodies in non-gravity, like avoiding it because they don't know when the gravity is going to kick back on. So if they're like under it, the acid's just going to drop and fucking kill them.
Yeah,
which is awesome, tense, great, horrific kind of moment that Fede Alvarez is really good at. Now, not to spoil it, but I have to. They get away. Not
to spoil it.
But they get away, but what a great tense moment, great inventive way. They get to the elevator shaft. The elevator is obviously all the way at the top. So they start climbing the ladder to escape. And the gravity kicks back off again. So like they float up the elevator shaft, but all of a sudden, all the fucking xenomorphs that are still left come running up the elevator shaft. And before she can kill all of them, Andy, the synthetic, is holding on to something, but Rain is not. So she starts falling through the fucking elevator. It is cinematically awesome to see her floating through this elevator shaft in slow motion towards all these xenomorphs. And then all of a sudden, the elevator kicks back on. So she is grabbing onto the ladder while she's falling, and it just misses her and squishes all the xenomorphs except for the one that we got introduced to on the ship. The one that's got the little scar on its head from the guy cattle prodding the shit out of it in the vagina wall thing. And here we go. We think like, well, Rain's fucking dead. Here's where you get the iconic shot that was originally Ripley and the alien in Alien 3, where it comes up to her head like this, and it's like screaming at her. So we get that, and we're like, well, she's fucking dead. But no. Andy the synthetic grabs the pulse rifle, jumps down the elevator shaft, and is shooting this thing, lands on top of it, and says one of the cringiest fucking lines in the entire movie. That
unsure of himself sounding too, so you know that it's Andy not part Rook.
He talks slow.
He's like, get away from her,
you bitch.
And I could feel him cringing in the seat next to me.
Wanted to die. I was like, dude,
I knew it was coming eventually.
The entire I'll get there. The entire theater almost audibly went ugh when this happened, myself included. Listen, I get you want to do fan service. You want to include everything from these movies. That's great. There's ways to do it without being a fucking cringe fest. If he just said, get away from her, that would have been enough. You would have been like, ha, I get where they were going there.
They did do a lot of nods that a lot of people who haven't just watched Alien and Aliens wouldn't have picked up on, or any of the Alien movies, really. So that would have been enough.
Yes. All right. So, yeah. When they are climbing the elevator shaft, there's a moment gravity is reestablished. Yes, that's when like they're grabbing onto the ladder and all of that. Thank you, Gustavos. Carlos, welcome to the stream, my friend.
Wonder what happened to all the acid at that moment. Yeah, agreed.
Yes,
I was thinking the same thing as it happened.
I mean, I guess we're led to believe, though, that like when the gravity got reestablished or turned back on while they were getting to the elevator, you see it kind of melt like some of like the metal stairs and shit like that.
So they just got lucky.
Yeah. So after the cringiest line that almost ruined the movie for me, if I got to be quite honest. They're getting back to the ship. We have a moment where the pregnant girl who escaped with the black goo from Prometheus is on the ship waiting for Andy and Rain to come so they can get the fuck out of there before the whole entire ship explodes. Rook, a.k.a. Ash, a.k.a. Mother, the computer, a.k.a. the fucking company, Weyland-Yutani.
All right.
Convinces her, like, hey, like, you're not looking so well. Like, you know what would help you? And convinces her to inject herself with the black goo. Now, if you've seen Prometheus, if you've seen Alien Covenant, you know that, like, this has very varying effects on whatever it is introduced to. So right away when she does that, I'm like, well, there you go. That is going to be whatever we see at the end of the movie is coming there.
Moment. Yeah. That's a shame.
So she doesn't say anything of it. This is where we get our false ending. Andy and Rain get back on the ship. They're pulling out of there. And at this point, Rook, a.k.a. Mother, has control of their ship. Like, he's autopiloting it. So Rain, realizing this, goes like, fuck you, disconnects it from autopilot, manual control, and you just see Rook, like, his half body, with, like, while he's talking to them, being like, no, we can help you. The company can help you. We will save you. And Rain's like, no fucking way, man. And we see the Romulus Renaissance Remus ship start crashing into the rings of the planet, and it just starts getting torn to shit. And boom, it's gone. We think the movie's over, just like we always get in all these movies. We always get that, like, false ending. Alien's no stranger to that either. Fuck, even Prometheus and Alien Covenant, same thing. You're like, okay, what is going to be in the fucking cargo hold? You know? Oh, hey, yeah. I actually just realized this when I was gathering photos while we were about to prepare for this stream. The pregnant girl is fucking Dora the Explorer, like, in the live action.
Really?
So thank you for that.
That's
Hedgehog. Appreciate that.
I want to make that my Twitter header.
Yeah. So Rain is putting the pregnant girl, Dora the Explorer, away into the cryopods. They are going to escape to their planet, be fucking happily ever after. And just as she's about to get into her own cryopod, there is, like, an alarm on the cryopod with the pregnant girl. And she's like, uh-oh, what's going on? So she opens it and she's like, all of a sudden she is now about to give birth to something. And we start to see all this black veiny shit start popping on her face. And boom, out pops this fucking creature. She gives birth, blood everywhere. And we don't see it at first, but right away you can see the color. And it's white, just like the Engineer, just like the Neomorphs of Alien Covenant, and honestly, very reminiscent of the Newborn of Alien Resurrection. So it is a hodgepodge of, like, the Engineers from Prometheus, the Neomorphs, all the black goo is combined, and, like, it's kind of like this weird nod to almost all of those films at once, like this mass amalgamation.
Technically, even Alien versus Predator, with the announcement, the realization that facehuggers react to heat,
kind of, I guess,
sound. That's how they hunt.
Yeah. So this thing just starts coming to life, and we see it. It's got, like, very xenomorph features, but it's got the face of a Engineer. Like, it's a white human face, but the back looks gross, like a xenomorph. It's got, like, weird nodules coming out of all of its joints, and you're just like, holy shit. This kind of took me out of the movie a little bit,
and
if
he
I'm
had
being
to
quite
explain
honest.
it to me on our way out of the theater, because I was like, I haven't seen Prometheus in so long.
In a long time, yeah. And I was like, well, that's what happens when the black goo gets introduced to people, kind of shit.
So then when I got home from work yesterday, he's like, do you want to do it?
You want to watch Prometheus,
And
baby?
I was like, yeah, throw it in.
But like, it's a cool idea, and this is definitely another point. She's learning, she's studying.
Doing my best. Doing what I can.
Yeah. So like I said, it kind of, like, took me out of the movie just a little bit. I don't know what I was expecting from, like, the big reveal at the end. I think I was kind of thinking maybe when she injected the black goo, it might have been like a reveal of the Queen. because we never find out like how the Queen gets there in Aliens, and being as though this one takes place between Alien and Aliens, I was like, you know what? Maybe this will be the big reveal of this movie will be like she gives birth to the Queen. But it wasn't like that. You just get this big white engineer xenomorph human hybrid fucking newborn looking thing.
Can one birth the Queen?
I don't know.
I think that's a chicken or the egg situation.
I think in my head I was like, maybe I would have liked that better. But this is cool, and this is definitely where Ridley Scott comes heavily into play, where it's like, okay, please, like, finish up what I was doing with Prometheus and Covenant. So anyway, the newborn thing slaughters the mom it just came birthing out of. It slices the shit out of
the Explorer.
Yeah, slices the shit out of Andy, the synthetic. He's like bleeding all the white fucking jizz-looking goo out of his side, and Rain is left alone to try and fight this thing. It's coming at her, and it's just your classic Alien ending, where she has to put on a suit. She's like, well, I'm going to blow it out of the goddamn airlock, just like they do at the end of almost every single Alien movie, which is another big thing I had a problem with in this movie. Is there no original way to end these? Like, or do we have to end it that way?
I think they also keep leaving it open-ended in that way.
Yeah.
When we get an Alien movie where it doesn't end that way, maybe that's how we know it's the end.
Oh, so you agree, Gustavo. Also thought it would be a Queen coming out, but then recalled Ridley never liked the idea of Queen for Aliens. Makes sense.
The Queen's not touched on that much through these movies, so
no, she only even pops up a couple times.
And Uzi, the light up buckets were different. They were from a different theater. We went to AMC.
Yeah, I think the light up ones were like Regal or something, or Cinemark.
Regal, because Regal
ours is just AMC. But like being huge fans of the Alien movies, it's like I'm not gonna see that thing sitting at a movie theater and not buy it. Unfortunately, that's like where like the collector horror movie nerd mentality comes into play. I see stuff like that, I have to buy it.
And I'm not a big popcorn bucket person. All of
no, me neither.
That wave never hit me, but I needed at least one Alien involved one. Yeah. I got bit by that bug.
But so yeah, like I had already mentioned, she blows this fucking thing out of the airlock. It is gone out into outer space to find for Alien Romulus 2, I guess. And that is the end of the movie. We get our classic monologue while Rain is putting Andy in the cryo thing, and she's getting ready for cryo sleep. And where they're going doesn't allow synthetics, but she's like, listen, I'm taking you with me no matter what. You're my brother kind of thing. And she has a cool monologue like, this is Rain, last survivor of the blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm heading for this planet. If you're hearing this transmission, I don't know what awaits me, but you know, we'll see what happens when I get there. And then the credits roll. So
Bill just explained the entire movie.
I think it was easier for me to verbalize what I liked and disliked going through it scene by scene.
You doing it helped me because, again, we just watched Prometheus and Covenant back to back yesterday.
So I mishmashed your brain?
My brain was mishmashed and remembering things from Romulus incorrectly because those two were now pressed onto it. Like I said, Romulus easily could have been a part 3 in that trilogy.
Yes, this is definitely the finality of Prometheus, like 100%. The fact that they managed to do it after Alien, I think, is actually brilliant. Kind of cool. Like, you know, I don't need more backstory before Alien. We know what happens when Alien comes out. You know, I don't need more tacked on. It just becomes so convoluted. So throwing it after, I think, was cool. And I'm glad Ridley Scott had his little pause in there a little bit. And it certainly explains why he's so like, yeah, I think you did a great job, Fede. You know, like.
It's like, yeah, because he was pulling the strings. Fede was just his puppet.
Yeah. What did you give this movie? We always do the letterbox scores. So what did you give it?
I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. Yeah. I was mentally toggling between a 3.5 and a 4 throughout it. But then the get away from her, you bitch.
Dude, that was the worst part of the whole
And that, again,
movie.
Didn't bother me as much as it bothered him and everyone else in the theater. But it didn't need to happen. But I didn't feel as fulfilled by the end as I thought I would be. But again, I don't normally look forward to movies the way I did this one. I've been looking forward to it since end of last year.
I've been looking forward to this movie for almost, it feels
However
like over a
long,
year.
yeah.
So
however long since it was first announced, especially when Fede Alvarez was
I was like,
attached to
dude,
it.
fuck.
I was like, I'm in.
yes. Yeah, like what a great guy to do it. He already killed it with Evil Dead. Like as far as I'm concerned, that's one of the best remakes out there.
Yeah. I agree.
But I also gave it a 3.5 on Letterboxd, which by the way, like check out our Letterboxd. I fucking wrote a novel for this movie.
As he does. I write like little jokes or quotes from the movie.
I don't always write that much, but for this one, I did. I don't know why. I just felt like it. So if you want to read my full thoughts on it, you can definitely check that out. The only reason I didn't give it higher or lower is there's just too many plot holes that I had explained, like in going through the plot. Like I think giving the company that much of a focus on being evil, it was just unnecessary.
Again, just like the SIM card aspect of Rook to Andy was making it a more modern sense in that the newer generations can understand the impact of a company like Weyland-Yutani, just like corporations on society today.
Now, I want to bring this up because I don't know like if anyone else is going to like feel this way. I'm mid-30s. Let's just say that. I don't want to dox my age, but I'm closer to 40 than I am 30. Okay. Did you feel like because they cast such like a young working cast in this, that it was almost like hey, like the younger generation doesn't want to work like as much as like the older generation did, or what?
I didn't get that at all.
No. It just popped in my head randomly when we were watching it. Not that I think they did that, but if they did, like kind of a funny take on like the new age, doesn't want to work as much.
The boomer theory on the newer generation.
Exactly, yeah.
No, I didn't get that at all. If anything, I think it was a dark commentary on how things go. Like at
when
the very
corporations
beginning,
are in control.
Rain is trying to turn in for her vacation time and then finds out, oh, we added 6 or 7 years to your contract unexpectedly. Oh, sorry, we didn't let you know. And it's like super classic of working for corporations today. Granted, extreme, but it happens.
Yeah.
Like you earned this time and now you can't use it because we said no.
Yeah. Like I love all the Weyland-Yutani shit. Like I've had a Weyland-Yutani patch on my backpack for like years.
Didn't I get it for you?
Yeah.
From House of Mysterious
Yeah,
Secrets.
rest in peace. I just always love stuff that's like kind of like a little more underground within movies, like if you know kind of thing. So for them giving it this much focus in this one, I was just kind of like, a little too much there. Like we know it's evil, we know they're bad, we know they have ill intentions.
I think it was literally just their way of trying to modernize it and make it more understandable to younger generations.
Maybe, I guess, yeah.
Because it was, I think, understandable by all generations at this point. Any young adults to 50-ish adults, what have you. Yeah. It's universal now.
Yeah. I think the other thing I kind of like just didn't really care for was the fact that every piece of marketing you see for this film has been, hey, this is all practical effects. Hey, this is, we're using real men in suits. And they are, don't get me wrong. And all of it looks great. The cinematography of it being all practical sets just makes it scarier, more claustrophobic feeling. It definitely made the actors fucking do a hell of a lot better job. But when you get something so egregious as when you see Ian Holmes' face like deep fake on the fucking synthetic, it is not good. And like I don't like that because that just gives almost a license for future films to take dead actors and do that.
They're already doing that,
but
that didn't bother me as much. Just like the get away from her, you bitch, didn't bother me as much as it bothered a lot of other people. Hence my toggling between a 3.5 and a 4. But I gave Prometheus and Covenant 4s. I give 3 and 4. 4s.
Yeah.
I was like, it hasn't quite gotten there. Maybe with a rewatch I'll bump it up. But
let me see.
Once again, I
wise man.
I really cannot wait for some sort of physical media announcement of its release. But again, I think
it comes out in like November or October already.
I don't know. I have no idea.
So Gustavo says, wonder why it is so hard to bring the Dark Horse comics into films. There are a few amazing stories there. Yes, I actually have like a decent amount of Alien comics. FYI, Dark Horse published non-canon stories from the Alien universe and is now part of Marvel. Yes. My buddy Brad, who occasionally will pop on our like streams and stuff like that, who was actually here earlier, he is huge into comics, and anytime there's like an alien or like Predator or anything like even horror related for that matter, he'll be like, Bill, did you see this? Did you see this? And I'm like, dude, yeah, very cool. I just like kind of don't read them that much anymore. But yeah, I'm surprised they haven't like dug into that, given how Marvel is essentially running the box office these days. So,
Uzi, I still have the shirt in my cart on my phone, and I'm giving myself until end of day today to decide if I want to spend $30 on it, because I don't spend money. I don't have money. Might pull the trigger. I think I really need that. And Cavity Colors did that shirt already, but in white, and I didn't buy it because it was a white shirt, which would mean it would be a gray shirt.
Yeah,
so
after one wash.
It's like a 7 on a scale to 10 of how likely I am to buy it.
What was that? What was something else? Rook, aka Ian Holm, aka fucking Ash. He says that quote that he always says. Well, that he said in Alien when his like head is decapitated, and they're like, "Well, what are our chances?" And he's like, "You have my sympathies." He says that in this movie too, which also it worked here because he is a synthetic. You know what I mean? Like, and his response,
repetitive nature.
His response is almost
are programmed.
Yeah, and it's also just like he's speaking in, percentages, in facts, like the percentage of organisms successful. Yes, exactly.
Things like that, yeah.
Whereas when Andy says, "Get away from her, you bitch," it's like, dude, Aliens hasn't happened yet. Why are you doing this? God damn it.
I did see, it was on my Explore page on Instagram. Somebody broke down the chronological order of the Alien movies.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
In actual order based on the year that each movie is set in. And I cannot wait to own Romulus so that I can actually watch them all. So then you can all watch me rant on Letterboxd about watching all of these movies. And I mean, realistically, it'll take me like 4 days
love though,
like
when like that this kind of shit gets to social media though, and people make those like dumb timetables and like just like, hey, like with the Halloween movies, it's like choose your own adventure. Like watch the Laurie Strode timeline, watch the reboot, watch the this timeline. It's like no one asks these people to do it, but thanks. Like cool. Now I don't need to. Fuck it. Now I know what year fucking Prometheus takes place, what year Alien 3 takes place. It's fun.
I just remember when we had first moved into this apartment, so like just over 9 years ago. I have never seen the Godfather movies. It's just something I never dove into. They're too long. I can't get into
fucking
it.
Crazy.
Whatever. Maybe I'll get there one day. But back when HBO was HBO Go.
Yes, Gustavo. Andy did not curse throughout the rest of the movie at all. It was totally out of character.
I loved Andy.
Yeah, that actor David Johnson. I think.
I didn't look into him.
He was probably the best performer in this whole movie.
On the whole movie.
His ability to flip from
actors
being like the studious after he gets the SIM card put in, and then also playing like the like kind of like dad joke, like confused synthetic,
trying to fit in with the humans.
He killed it. So good.
But I've never seen the Godfather movies. And then HBO Go, many years ago when it was HBO Go, HBO took the time to put all of the Godfather movies together and re-edited them into chronological orders. So
you can watch it all as one piece. Yeah.
And I tried. And I made it maybe 20 minutes in.
And what is this?
This is terrible.
Is this you connecting the dots to someone listing out the Alien movies?
Because I was thinking to myself, it's even like trying to watch Star Wars in order. Like I don't think my brain could handle that. Granted, there are also a lot of Star Wars movies where at least with the Godfather movies, there's only the 3.
Yeah.
But they're long fucking movies.
Yeah, sure.
But like Alien, I could handle that.
Well, yeah. I mean, just look at what I think it's been less than like 3 months since we even watched all the Alien movies, because Alien Day was like in April or whatever. So
no, and that was the thing. Like Covenant, we just watched yesterday.
Covenant last night.
The last time I logged it was sometime last year, in April or August of last year. Ironically,
if it's one thing Romulus has done, like it may have sounded like we had a lot of problems with it, and again, it's not a perfect movie, but it is hella entertaining. It's so good to see like those Xenomorphs back in action, practical to some degree. It may have had, like I said, its problems, but it was great. It was fun. It had some tense moments that like this series really needed. And it was cool that it fits in between Alien and Aliens for me. Because it's just like, that's 57 years while Ripley is floating in space is a lot of time. So
in that regard, my only issue with it being set between Alien and Aliens, technically speaking, is that they threw in so many callbacks to other movies.
Well, that's my main problem with the whole movie, I think. It just, if it didn't try so hard to just like add in like, hey, remember this? Hey, remember this?
Like, yes,
hey,
I
remember this?
Other than the Prometheus stuff for me, as we all well know.
I mean, we saw how well it went with like the David Gordon Green Halloween trilogy, where they try to interject so much fan service by referencing the other films that it's just like, dude, just tell your story. And, you know, it's fine to a small degree, but there's times in Romulus where it's just like, all right, dude, calm down, like enough. Like, you were doing a great job. Like, the first 30 minutes of this movie feels like we are preparing for the greatest film of all time. And not that the rest of the movie's bad. It just becomes like one little, whether it be a quote or something on the wall or an actor like Ian Holm popping up. You're just like, dude, we saw those other movies. Stop rehashing it. But then, of course, the third act, final act is so intense. You don't even have time to breathe. It's worth everything for this movie. But anyway, loved the movie. Super critical because I just love and am very passionate for these films. I think Fede Alvarez killed it. I mean, for this day and age, it's like, if you look at the movies Alien and Aliens, right? They are the gold standard. We were just talking about this before we even went live. I was like, you know what? That's exactly it.
They're not comparable in that regard because of the status that the Alien movies, the first two especially, have.
Yeah, like Alien is the gold standard for sci-fi horror movies. Aliens is the gold standard for sci-fi action sequel. So it's like, I can't, and we collectively as an audience, everyone watching, all that, we can't like hold them with so much weight that they're going to be able to replicate that or come close to that. Like, granted, sometimes they do, but it is so rare. So with Romulus, it is great. It is good. Liked it, didn't love it. You can't go into it thinking you're going to get Alien and Aliens. Like, that's just not possible, man. Those are masterpieces. But what he did with it was great.
And I think he was also genius in the fact that he utilized Ridley Scott.
Or Ridley Scott was up there like a puppeteer, like like Steven Spielberg doing the Tobe Hooper on Poltergeist. Like, yes, hey, buddy.
However, I think that we could have had a very different movie and maybe not liked it as much had Ridley Scott not been as involved as he was. I'm sure he was more involved than we're being told, but
I'm glad he was too, just because one of my favorite aspects of this is that the Covenant Prometheus storyline got a conclusion. We saw where the ship went.
Assume.
Yes, unless of course this one will probably get Alien will probably get another movie now because this is doing really well from what I understand.
Well, we'll see because Disney.
Disney does own
now.
It. Hey.
So fingers crossed for physical media on that front.
No, it will. I think it already got announced.
Okay, I saw a Dawn of the Disc thing, but I think it was UK.
I don't know.
I don't know anymore either.
All right, so let's see what do we got here. Sorry, I was neglecting the chat. I just wanted to get some stuff off my chest.
I was reading the chat over his shoulder while he went on his.
Let's get back to Uzi. Uzi always got a lot to say here. I just never washed the shirt, dude. If I didn't wash my shirts, I would have a problem.
But they don't have the white shirt anymore, but it's in black now. So again, I'll probably by like 7:00 tonight, I'll have ordered it.
What up, Nick Fox? Thanks for popping in, brother. All right, what else we got here? Dude, I said this to myself when I got out of the movies. I swear to Christ. Hey, remember that was cool.
Do you think that was Fede Alvarez talking with Ridley Scott?
Remember? Like, I swear to God, that popped in my head because that's what it feels like at times. The movie's great, don't get me wrong, but I was like, dude, Ridley Scott being like, dude, talk about this. Hey, talk about this.
Can we all talk about Bill saying, don't get me wrong, the movie's great, is the equivalent of Seinfeld. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Oh, Gustavo, you bring up a good point. Here. Maybe they should have brought David instead of Ash.
I would have been here
interesting.
for that.
Interesting. I did love David and Walter's dynamic, especially in Covenant. It's
the
fresh
only
in my
reason
mind.
that I think that they didn't, which I would have loved
Oh,
to
no,
have seen.
I think there's an explanation.
Oh, well, I would have just assumed that because it's supposed to be set between Alien
Yes,
and
that's
Aliens,
exactly it.
Yeah, because Ash was, well, Rook,
Yeah.
a clone of Ash. Whatever the makeup of that is.
Yeah.
It was so close to Alien.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be happening in between anyway.
That's exactly what it was, is like, in order to tie it to where it was taking place in the timeline, they decided on that. And that's when Fede Alvarez reached out to Ian Holmes' estate and was like, hey, we want to do this thing, but like, we're not going to do it if we don't have your blessing. And if they didn't get him, I wonder if they would have maybe even chose Lance Henriksen and brought Bishop back or something.
But Gustavo, you're right.
Yeah.
We did absolutely see through that fan service.
Yes.
But again, I think they didn't use David or Walter even. Well,
I think because quite honestly,
of the time frame.
But honestly, like, I think overall, like, you may be a fan of Prometheus and Covenant. We are big fans of it. I think the general consensus is that, like, as a whole, the fans didn't like it. So, like, to bring him back, I think would almost be, they wouldn't do it just for fear of the backlash.
Would feel slighted.
Yeah.
But also, again, the time framing of it being set. But I would like, because Bill just said we love Prometheus, I love it now. If anything, Romulus made me appreciate it more.
Yeah.
I had a better understanding of Prometheus thanks to Romulus and vice versa.
Yes. If anything, I wonder if the people that are really enjoying Romulus are going back and revisiting these movies, because I always have liked them, but this gave me a greater appreciation for them. Yeah, for sure.
Now we only have 3 and 4 and Alien versus Predator left.
Yeah, I'm not watching those.
No, I told him that I will rewatch them if I love Romulus. I didn't love Romulus, but I'll probably still rewatch them because now I've seen Prometheus more.
Dude, yeah, hilarious. Listen, I don't want any fan service. Takes a big bite of popcorn out of a Facehugger popcorn bucket.
Also,
fucking, you got
they
me,
gave
brother.
us a bucket of popcorn on the side when we bought the Facehugger bucket. And they were like, oh, it's complimentary with the bucket. It was stale ass popcorn. They made that as soon as they opened.
While that is so fucking funny and true, I like fan service in movies, just not so much. I don't need to be spoon-fed nostalgia that much. Like, dude, like a little bit here and there. This one is very heavy-handed.
Yeah.
Movie's good, but like, dude, chill out. I can only hope that like if another one gets greenlit, fuck this fan service shit. That they like kind of cool it on that, which I'm sure they will, because now that this is a bit of a success, I think Fede or whoever they get to do it will have almost more freedom to do what they want.
Has it been a success so far? I haven't seen anything in the headlines.
I don't know. I haven't looked at the box office.
I'm still seeing headlines about what a success it was.
Yeah.
Theatrically.
100 mil.
Yeah.
But where would you put Romulus? Like,
I was so scared you were going to ask me that, and
Any idea?
I looked at my letterbox, and I don't have an Alien ranking. We talked about it on one of our videos once, where we did a short for Alien Day.
I don't want you to rack your brain. Just off the cuff, where would you put it in the timeline, like of films?
In my ranking?
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say timeline. I have that saved on my phone, but I have to think about that, because again, now I like Prometheus more than I used to.
Okay.
Is this ignoring Alien versus Predator?
Sure. Just the straight up Alien Xenomorph shit. No Predator. I think I would do, for me, Alien and Aliens are interchangeable at number 1.
At number 1.
If any given day, I like one of them more than the other. At number 3 would be Alien 3. Listen, I know people hate it. I fucking love Alien 3.
I'm going to interrupt you there.
And then I'd put Romulus right after that. Then I'd do Prometheus and Covenant, or those are even interchangeable. And then I'd have Resurrection dead last. That's really the only one I don't care for. I like it. It's just too goofy and schlocky. But seeing
Romulus and then rewatching Prometheus and Covenant just yesterday, it completely changes my order. Whereas I was gonna say it would go in release order. For me.
That's usually how you go.
No, but I've thought about it in the past 30 seconds.
Okay, let's hear it.
And now it would be Alien, Aliens, Covenant.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bold. Okay.
Romulus, Prometheus, then 3 and 4.
You'd put Romulus ahead of 3. How much you like it?
I have to, again, we still have to rewatch 3 and 4. Resurrection has been steadily dropping for me, which is shocking because and me and my bad takes, I happen to love it.
I like it too. It's
I have
goofy.
an action figure of the newborn, for crying out loud.
Well, hey, after the ending of Romulus, like, newborn's going to be getting all kinds of new love. It's like a newborn
not
engineer.
Not necessarily, but in watching Prometheus again, it really like changed my.
Oh yeah, that thing has clearly got the black goo engineer shit in it.
Yeah, but it was like very poorly done.
Yeah, too CGI.
Yeah, and it was just poorly done.
Yeah.
I get people's hate for it now. I don't hate it by any means. I still love
the
it.
hybrid, they're calling it.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
And I really love 3. Charles S. Dutton's monologue.
Yeah.
Do you want it on your feet or on your fucking knees?
Begging.
Well, I ain't much for begging. That used to be my end of vacation going back to work posts every 6 months when I
ain't much for begging.
When I still got paid vacations. That was always my move because it was my friendly reminder that I'm taking this vacation back to work with me.
But yeah, so we broke down the entire fucking movie of Alien Romulus. Overall, great time. Hell of a fun romp. This, like we all have already said, the practical sets and practical xenomorph shit is, you have to see it. It's awesome.
Outstanding.
The retro nostalgic look of like the mother computer and shit like that. It doesn't look too futuristic, which is a lot of people's complaints with Prometheus and Covenant, is that, hey, if these are taking place before Alien, why does it look so futuristic? Well, they went back and everything looks very, the original Alien in this one, which I loved.
Even what you mentioned earlier, the dipping bird thing in the beginning of Romulus as a callback to the first Alien.
Yeah. It's great. Little touches like that are where fan service is awesome.
It's silent fan service.
Yes. It doesn't need to be, get away from her, you bitch. You know what I'm saying? Gustavo, the assembly cut is great. I honestly like any of them. I like the theatrical cut. I like the shitty interjected, like IMAX squeezed looking terrible CGI shots in that movie. I like seeing it with the fucking bull instead of the dog. I like it all. Like every time people hate on Alien 3, I'm like, man, like I'm on like some other fucking lost island by myself here. But yeah. Oh, you go on vacation next week, Uzi, eh?
Your turn.
You're going to see it on vacation? That'll be a nice treat.
Nice.
Oddly enough, I was talking to my grandparents this morning because we have like plans to go see the Beetlejuice movie together, because when I grew up, my grandma would watch Beetlejuice with me all the time. And she's just like, I want to go see the new Beetlejuice. I'm like, well, let's fucking go. But she says the only time they go to the movies is on vacation, which is funny.
And I absolutely said I'm not coming to the movies for that. Nothing against Beetlejuice, do what you will. Which is funny because at our wedding, friends of ours came dressed as Beetlejuice and Lydia.
Beetlejuice.
I do, but I don't need to see Beetlejuice in theaters.
Why not?
I just don't.
Okay. Well, fine then. I'll reap the rewards of watching a terrible sequel.
And then coming soon, Bill's review on Beetlejuice.
No, wait, I'm going to let my grandma do that review. I think it'll be really funny because she'll love it no matter what. I'll like interject. I'll be like, well, what did you think of the CGI sandworms? And she'll be like, what?
What's that?
But anyway, guys, yeah, go see Alien Romulus. It is a good time. Oh, yeah, that'd be really funny, Uzi. We have our qualms with it. Nothing's going to be perfect. Nothing's going to be the first 2 films, but still a lot of fun. We enjoyed it. We definitely built it up a little too fucking high expectation-wise.
I
in
think
our
a lot
heads.
of people did, but
Still
the
great.
reviews have been mostly glowing. So
Yeah, glowing reviews.
I almost don't buy it, but people like what they like, and
Yeah.
I'm not here to criticize.
Listen, it was good, but people are saying it's like the best
movie,
fucking thing ever, and it isn't.
No.
It's fine. But anyway, guys, we hold on. Oh, there we go. Thank you, Gustavo. Yes. By the way, Romulus is expected to reach 100 million in the opening weekend. That's fucking huge if true. So yeah, expect a sequel announcement for sure. Then, unfortunately, not that I wouldn't want one.
We
but
would go see it.
Yeah. But thank you guys for sticking around, and thank you everyone who was in the chat. We really appreciate it. It always makes the conversation flow a little bit better rather than me just being like, then they walked down the hallway and an alien came out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Thank
So,
you. You guys
yeah.
gave me something to read while he went through the whole movie.
But I don't know. I don't know what we have coming up next. We kind of just wing this YouTube stuff whenever we have time. So,
and this is our 4th time at the movies in the past 2 months. So
yeah, there's not much coming out until like I think Nosferatu or maybe
on
even
Christmas.
maybe even Terrifier 3.
Bill
but
also already told me like he's not that interested in seeing Nosferatu.
Yeah,
and his birthday is right before Christmas. It's a big time for us.
But we appreciate you all so much. Thank you, Gustavo. Cheers. Been a pleasure as well. Until the next video, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in.
I agree, Uzi.
What do you say?
Cuckoo looks okay.
I'll
watch it when it's free.
Yeah, I'm not going to go to the theater to see that because I've heard too many mixed things, but I'm sure it's great. We watched Immaculate today, which was great. Totally out of left field, so maybe it's going to be one of those for us. But we love you all so much.
Yeah, thank y'all for watching.
You. We got to order some Chinese food. I am starving. Anyway, we love you all. Adios. I hope you guys are having a great weekend. Go see Romulus if you haven't. We love you. Mwah, 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 mwah.